Nigeria is waking up to a massive legislative earthquake today, Wednesday, February 18, 2026, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has officially signed the highly anticipated Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026 into law. This landmark moment occurred at the State House in Abuja, effectively repealing the controversial 2022 Act and putting in place a new, technologically driven framework just in time for the 2027 general elections. The signing ceremony, which was attended by top government officials and legal experts, marks a total overhaul of how Nigerians will vote, how results will be transmitted, and how electoral offenders will be punished. President Tinubu described this new law as a gift to the nation, emphasizing that it is designed to permanently cure the technical glitches and interpretative ambiguities that nearly tore the country apart during the last election cycle. The new act officially makes the bimodal voter accreditation system, popularly known as BVAS, the only mandatory method for voter accreditation, completely removing any administrative discretion that allowed for manual bypasses in the past. Even more significantly, it grants statutory backing to the election results viewing portal, the IReV, making the electronic transmission of results from polling units mandatory and legally binding. This means that for the first time in our history, the law explicitly requires that polling unit results must be uploaded in real time, providing a digital paper trail that is much harder to manipulate at collation centers. However, behind the celebratory atmosphere at the presidential villa, there is a brewing storm within the National Assembly that has left the Senate President Godswill Akpabio reportedly very frustrated and angry. The source of this tension lies in a dramatic last-minute emergency session where the House of Representatives effectively forced the Senate's hand on several key transparency provisions. You see, during the harmonization process earlier this month, the Akpabio-led Senate had initially pushed for a version of the bill that would have kept electronic transmission discretionary, meaning INEC would have the power to decide when and where to use it. This move was met with fierce public outcry and incandescent rage from civil society groups who accused the Senate of trying to legalize technical glitches. In a shocking twist, the House of Representatives, led by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, held an emergency session on Tuesday to rescind their earlier decisions and fully adopt the most rigorous transparency clauses, including the mandatory real-time upload of Form EC-8A. This bold move by the Green Chamber essentially backed the Senate into a corner, forcing them to accept a more transparent version that many in the Red Chamber were comfortable with. Insiders suggest that Akpabio is particularly displeased because these rigid Hegel requirements strip away the flexibility that the Senate leadership had fought for the electoral umpire. There are also reports of deep-seated friction regarding the new notice of election timeline, which has been adjusted to 300 days before polling day to avoid any overlap with the Ramadan and Lenten seasons in 2027. If you are following this high-stakes political chess game and you want to stay ahead of the curve as we approach the 2027 elections, please take a quick second to hit that like button right now. It really helps the algorithm push this important news to more Nigerians who need to understand these new laws. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you are the very first to know when the next big political update drops. The new Electoral Act 2026 also introduces some of the toughest criminal sanctions we have ever seen in the history of Nigerian democracy. For those who think they can still manipulate the collation process, the law now carries a mandatory minimum of 10 years imprisonment without the option of a fine for any official who makes intentional false declarations or violates collation procedures. This is a massive shift from the previous regime where fines were often treated as a small transactional fee by wealthy political actors. Furthermore, the act targets the merchants of democracy by increasing the fine for illegal buying or selling of permanent voter cards to 5 million naira, while retaining a strict 2-year prison term. The law mandates that election funds must be released to INEC at least 1 year before a general election to ensure operational preparedness and prevent the executive branch from using funding as a leash to control the Commission's independence. While the presidency and the House of Representatives are hailing this as a victory for the people, the visible cracks in the relationship between the executive and the Senate leadership suggest that the implementation of this act will be the ultimate test of Nigeria's democratic resilience. The fact that Akpabio's Senate had to settle for a bill that mandates the very transparency they try to make optional shows that the pressure from the public and the House of Representatives finally paid off. As we move closer to 2027, every Nigerian must now familiarize themselves with these laws because the referee, INEC, is now legally bound to show us the scores in real time, and the consequences for cheating have never been higher.